anyone that's thinking of an apprenticeship should do it and look at what's out there. I think it's such a good route into any industry, any career. There's so many benefits for individuals that take up an apprenticeship. You obviously get all the experience work-wise whilst you're studying for a qualification that's being paid for and earning a salary at the same time.
The reason I became an apprentice was it gave me the ability to gain real-life meaningful work experience and get a degree at the same time.
Practical skills I'm getting from the job as well are invaluable, and in my eyes, they far supersede anything I was learning at school.
I've managed to learn a lot, and it gives you a lot of good experiences as to what to do, what not to do, and so on.
And it's really a good chance to kind of prove how good you are, and that I see apprenticeships as just like a window of opportunity.
I've come from various years of working in other fields, and I did an apprenticeship and I felt completely welcome and at ease, and I'm really glad I did it.
You do see it as a learning experience, not just a working experience for someone when they are coming in.
Having that idea and that sort of different way of thinking as you come in as an apprentice and implementing that change into the company, that's kind of where I brought my value, and you kind of feel appreciated when you kind of get responses and like, hey, Phil, this is like really helpful, etc., from team members, from managers, etc. And it's that sort of responsibility, you could say, that was placed on me when I started that project. And seeing that kind of the outcome, the goals being achieved was a really big thing, and it was nice to see myself have an impact on the company.
So when I started my A-levels, I really wanted to go to a really good university. My A-levels were maths, further maths, physics and chemistry. I was really determined. But when I actually looked into what university would actually be, it was really expensive, and I didn't really think I could afford it really. And then I learned about apprenticeships, and I thought, wow, that's brilliant. You get the qualification and the experience, and that's what I really liked. And I found at the end of my A-levels, I felt like I was a bit sort of done with studying in a way, but I feel like this apprenticeship is a good balance of learning and working, which I really enjoy.
So Cameron joined us now just over a year ago as an apprentice, and has gone through a rapid learning cycle in terms of understanding what we do from a technology point of view, but also understanding how events work and how you run events on big sites. He's been a fantastic apprentice in terms of the rate at which he's developed and learnt how sites work, how to get stuff done, problem solving, all the challenges you have in our sort of world. To the point now, after a year, he's capable of going out and actually running events on his own and actually looking after some fairly big sites, which is a great thing to be able to do.
People's stigma about IT is they think it's all in offices, which I don't think is hardly the case, be it from my own personal experiences. I'm constantly walking around fields all day, walking through all sorts of tents and marquees, deploying technical equipment, which would, normally you'd see in a building, but we deploy it temporarily onto site. There's a lot of physical work to IT, which a lot of people don't really see. They all just think it's behind a desk, sat, not really doing much. But there is a lot to it, because it doesn't get there without anyone putting it there, which is the way I like to think about it.
Great stuff. We've got loads of shout outs. It's so good that so many of you are tuned in and enjoying the sessions. Big shout out to Riverside College in Widnes, Ditton Park, hello to you, Coleraine College in Northern Ireland, North Liverpool Academy A-Level CS cohort are watching. Hello guys. East Hampstead Park School, Bracknell, big up. Woolwich Polytechnic School in London, big up to you. And the John Warner School in Hertfordshire. Hello, stay tuned. Lots of good stuff coming up. Okay. Right, so we've heard a little bit about what BCS do, but now let's speak to somebody who actually works there, none other than their head of apprenticeships. It's Annette Allmark. Hello, Annette.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, very well, thank you.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, so first things first, can you just put in a nutshell what it is that BCS does and how does it help IT apprentices?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So BCS, we're the Chartered Institute for IT. So we're the professional body for IT professionals, but also we cover lots of learning and development across all forms of IT. And in terms of apprenticeships, we're an endpoint assessment organisation. And that means that when an apprentice has been through their training, we assess them to make sure that they're competent and that they can go out into the workplace and employers can be really confident that they can really do the job. So we assess about 500 apprentices every month across all different sorts of areas as well, whether it be cyber or software or digital marketing. So that's what we do. And also to support apprentices, because once somebody's done an apprenticeship, that's the first part of their journey. But we're a professional body, so we support them in their continuous career development through professional recognition. We have a register called RIT Tech. That means that not only are they qualified through an apprenticeship, they carry on through their career development and can be recognised for what they've achieved, but also be part of a community of digital professionals.
Wow, wow. So it's amazing. And it's great that so many people are going through that process all the time. I mean, it gives a sense of scale of how many people are doing IT apprenticeships already.
Absolutely. And it's becoming even more, desirable for an employer's perspective. You take through the pandemic, the amount of people who have very quickly had to employ people with digital skills because they had to digitally transform their organizations. We all had to start working at home and working in a different way. But even before that, there's a huge demand for digital skills across employers. And it's not just tech companies, because I think a lot of time people think that, we're talking about all of the big technical or techie organizations, but it doesn't matter what sector, what size of business, what type of organization, digital skills are very, very much in demand and becoming even more so. And we know that just from the way we live and the types of things we expect to be able to do are becoming more automated all the time.
No, massively. Outside of TV, I have a drinks manufacturing company, and you'd think that's so far removed from digital stuff, but not the case at all. When we're recruiting, that's one of the main things we look for. We need people with a good broad range of digital skills, whether it's in marketing or communication skills, but it's super important. So we're getting some questions coming through from the chat. We've got a question here from somebody saying, I love computers and I want a job in digital, but I don't know which company I should try and work for. How do I decide? Big question.
Okay, and actually you've just touched on that, because I think it comes back to people's passion and interests. Because if you take digital, as you've just said, a drinks manufacturing company, I come from a hospitality background originally. Every sector needs digital talent these days. So I'd say to anyone who's thinking about this now, and if you like computers or you like sort of, the sort of whole digital space, think about what else you'd like to do. We've got an example, it's one of our case studies, of a guy who, he loved football. And he thought, how can I put my passion together with football? And he actually went into digital marketing, and he's doing the digital marketing for Luton Town Football Club. So actually think about the areas you'd like to work in, and have a look online. Also use your own network. I always say this to younger people, that actually it's not very fashionable to go on Facebook and things like that, and sort of all the sort of things that your parents do. But actually they're great networks. Talk to them, because they can tell you about jobs and they can talk about different industries and businesses that actually you might not have known about, or you might not have been exposed to. And it can give you ideas of what kind of organizations to go into. So, have a look online. Get in touch with, many big businesses are very happy to talk to people who can be potential employees for them. So, go out there, talk to people, but use your own networks as well. But there's definitely opportunities across all sectors, all sizes of businesses. So think about, what you're interested is, what your passion is, what you like doing on a day-to-day basis, and see how you can match that up with a career in IT as well.
Yeah, brilliant, brilliant. So we've got another question here from the chat. What are the most in-demand digital skills that you see employers looking for at the moment?
Okay, so the really big thing that all businesses are starting to look at more is around data, because there's who isn't dealing with data and wanting to use that data to do things better. How can our businesses be more efficient? How can they be more effective? How can we start doing things that our customers and consumers probably don't even know that they're going to do in the future, but make it better for them? So data is a really big thing, and that could be, for instance, in AI. You look at things like self-driving cars. Who would have thought? Well, I think we used to think about things like that, but people want to see how they can do things differently, and AI is a big area. Cybersecurity is. We're seeing a huge take up of, as I said, data analysts. We see cyber and AI increasing, but also things like business analysts, really, really important area. And then, from people who are more technically minded, software developers are in huge demand as well. And we're seeing different occupations changing. So if you look at things like marketing, digital marketing has become very popular, and we certainly see a number of apprentices going into that direction too.
Brilliant. Well, look, thank you so much for talking to us, Annette. Really great to get an insight from somebody on the ground at BCS. So thank you.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you.
Great stuff. Thanks very much. And thanks for your questions, guys. Keep them coming in. Right, we've heard from somebody at BCS. Now let's hear from somebody who's benefited from an apprenticeship in the digital space. He is the technical lead for Etherlive. It's Cameron Warwick. Cameron.
Hello, you right there?
Yes, good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you.
Great, great. Now, first things first, what exactly does Etherlive do, and what does being a technical lead there actually mean?
So what Etherlive does is we supply networking services for the events and the festival industry. So this may cater to subjects such like Wi-Fi, CCTV, RFID scanning, and CCTV services, basically. And as a technical lead, I will be technically in charge of the installation when we go on site, and I'll be managing to ensure that the build and the deployment is put in, make sure that once the event starts, everything is working, and monitor it.
Great. So what made you want to go into that area? What came first, wanting to work in events and festivals, or wanting to work in digital and tech?
So originally, I was interested in the whole IT and tech side of things. So I was quite keen on doing IT all through my school. I did it through my GCSEs, up into sixth form and college. And then I kind of hit a slight bit of a dead end. I wasn't really too sure what to do. I didn't really want to go to uni. And then fortunately enough, the apprenticeship option was opened up to me by a friend of mine. The rest was history, really. Managed to succeed through that. I ended up coming across Etherlive, and I never knew about the whole IT side of things in the events industry as well. It's not something that I would have thought of or would ever have been a thing. And fortunately enough for me, it's just worked out massively. It's a very interesting topic.
Great. Yeah, it must be really, I mean, it's such an important part of festivals and events and stuff now, and I guess there must be a lot of kind of hands-on problem solving, like seeing an event come together must be quite satisfying.
Yeah, it's incredibly satisfying being able to show up to just kind of like an empty space or a field right at the beginning of the build, seeing absolutely nothing there, working your way through the weeks and weeks to get everything all ready, coming up to the live event, seeing everything built, everything ran.
Yeah.
There's something about it. There's a big satisfaction, and then at the very end when you get to take it all down, just knowing everything has gone well, it's very, very humbling feeling.
Yeah, definitely. What's the best festival you've worked on?
So a personal favourite of mine was I did the One Out Festival over at Apps Court Farm recently. A lot of my music works like that, quite a good one. Nice. Some quite notable festivals I have done this year include the Royal Winter Horse Show earlier on in the year. I popped over to a few of the Royal Horticultural Society flower shows up and down the country this year as well. And I also had the opportunity to pop into Wimbledon as well. That was a very good event.
That's great. Yeah, amazing. You went into an apprenticeship because you didn't want to necessarily go down the more kind of traditional, route of university. What was it about an apprenticeship that appealed to you so much?
So I was kind of looking to get into full-time work as it was. I was quite happy at the time in my part-time work, and I just wanted to take that next step, start earning a bit of money. And the apprenticeship role just kind of fit perfectly for me. You know, you've got that perfect balance of being able to earn and also learn at the same time. And, you know, it gives you the qualifications and the experience. So hopefully this will be able to lead me into future endeavours with other qualifications to help back me. Also, I've also got the work experience from the last few years I've been here to just take me further, to be fair.
So that can be, I mean, it sounds quite daunting, I guess, for some people. I mean, I remember when I was a student at university, you know, also working at the same time would have been quite daunting, I feel like. How did you find that balance? How does it actually work? Is it actually quite easy and both things fit around each other really well?
So it's a bit of a difficult one. With the events industry, a lot of our work comes through the whole summer season for us specifically. So I was fortunate enough to be in a position where I was able to balance my apprenticeship education side to more of the winter season and focus more of my kind of work ethic on through the summer season. However, it's all about time management at the end of the day. If you're able to just put a few hours to one side just to make sure you can get your work done, ready for next time your assessor may come in and check on and make sure everything's all up to good. And, you know, it's just time management, I think, and just being able to balance that between the two.
So it's doable, it's not too stressful?
It's not too stressful at all. You know, you might find times where it might all be a bit crazy, but you know, you put your head down and you just try and focus, and it all sorts itself out.
Yeah. So we've had another question in from the chat. What kind of preparations do you need to make before you actually go on site?
So there's a bit of a process we go through in terms of how we deal with the customer requirements and what sort of kit will need to be spec'd in order to meet their requirements. And upon confirmation of that, we will then move to a configuration stage where once the kit has been picked out, we will internally in-house, we will configure the kit in a ready state. So once we do show up onto the event space, we will then just be physically deploying and making minor adjustments if needed.
Great. Amazing. Well, look, thanks very much for answering our questions. Thanks to everyone who's been getting those questions in on the chat as well. Yeah, good luck with everything, and I hope you have lots more good, exciting events in the future. Thanks, Cameron.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Cheers, mate. Great stuff. Thanks, guys. Thanks for your questions. We have now got another fantastic guest joining us on the screen. Somebody who didn't take an apprenticeship, but who does work in a fascinating role for a fascinating company. So you're going to want to get your questions in for this one, definitely. So let's welcome Principal 1 Systems Engineer, Bucky Thompson. Hello, Bucky. How are you doing?
Hi. Thank you for having me here.
It's an absolute pleasure. Thanks very much for joining us. Now, first things first, Principal 1, I had a little look at what the company does. It looks really interesting. Digital systems for law enforcement. This sounds like pretty high-tech, high-powered stuff. What can you tell us about what it is that you do?
Yeah, essentially, Principal 1 is more consultancy, and we specialize within law enforcement. And essentially what we do is we offer our services to tackle challenges within the threat landscape. So we're trying to make the UK a safer space.
Great. So what kind of stuff does that involve? What kind of challenges is it that you're kind of heading off?
Because it's law enforcement, there's only so much I can say because a lot of it is quite
I thought you might say that, but that's great. I love that as an answer. It's classified, actually.
But it's really fun, exciting stuff.
Okay.
Definitely.
Okay, great. No, that's good. That's good. A bit of mystery. So you didn't take an apprenticeship, but you found your way into tech slightly differently. Tell us about your journey and how you got to where you are today.
Sure. So my journey into tech started really with the arts because I'm a very creative person. So when I was, I think in year 8 or year 9, we used to all be on MySpace. So on MySpace, I used to make layouts for my friends. And it basically just involved a lot of Photoshop, just creating the layouts. And in order for me to actually apply the layouts onto the page, I had to configure the HTML a little bit. at this point, I didn't even realize I was coding. I was just making pages look really pretty and aesthetically pleasing. And then when MySpace fell off, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. So I decided to basically take my A-levels in philosophy, art, psychology, and then I went on to study psychology in uni as well. After uni, I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I went and did sales for about a year and a bit. But I'm really creative and I wanted to do something more creative and build things. And that's how my journey into tech really started. So I quit my job in sales, took some time out to learn how to code. And because I'm the type of person who gets really inspired being around people like myself, I decided to join a coding boot camp so I can be around people like myself striving for the same things. And in the coding boot camp, you essentially learn how to code in 3 months. And that's what really kickstarted my journey into tech.
Yeah, amazing. And what kind of stuff were you doing in those boot camps? Because I've got some friends who've done those. You kind of start with almost no knowledge, and by the end of it, you've actually created something. What was your kind of project that you did?
So the third thing I built was a game.
Nice.
So I love anime.
Okay.
So I built an anime-related game. And then all the other projects I built were mainly projects where I felt it could benefit me.
Yeah.
So I like to travel. So I built an app that will allow me to basically save the locations I'd like to travel to, and a space where people can leave comments to give feedback on those places they can visit.
Yeah.
So I basically just spent my whole time building passion projects.
Great, that's amazing. But then how do you, because obviously, you know, the sessions that we're doing now are all about people's journey from, you know, learning the skills to getting into work. How did you then go from a 3-month boot camp into a career in the digital and tech space?
So one thing I've realized when it comes to the tech industry, especially for those who have no experience, it's mainly passion that employers want to see, because coding is not easy, and we know there's just so many things that you need to learn. And even whilst I still work in the industry and I've been here for a few years now, I'm still every day. It's information overload. There's almost so much to learn.
Yeah.
So employers just want to see that you are able to apply yourself and you've got the thirst for knowledge and you're adaptable. So even if you don't know the basics of coding, they are there to help you as long as you are willing to apply yourself.
Yeah, amazing. Now I've got here in my notes that you set up a coding group around hip hop. What success did you have with that? What was the idea behind it?
So when I got my first role into the industry, I was a product specialist. And one of the main things I noticed that not only was I one of the very few women, I was the only Black woman there. So I decided to basically establish this thing called Coding Hip Hop. And it's supposed to serve 2 purposes. So the biggest thing for me is that when we introduce tech and coding to people, everyone has this stereotypical view that in order for you to be successful in the career, you need to basically look like someone and behave like someone who's from the Big Bang Theory.
Yeah.
So someone that's maybe antisocial, has no people skills, and it's just very much stuck at the computer. But I come from a creative background. And one thing I found is that in order for you to be successful in the field, it's really important for you to be both logical and creative.
Yeah.
You can't just be logical. Both of them just work well together. And this is where the hip hop comes into play, because I wanted to show that whilst I'm teaching you how to code, I'm teaching you how to make music using code. Right. And then once you've acquired the skills, you can use code to create art as well. And the hip hop is a thing to just make it more relatable to myself and people who look like me.
Yeah.
And to show them that, you know, there's this thing that people have said to you, you can't have, it's not for people like us, but actually you can take it and make it your own thing, like hip hop, for example.
Yeah. Fantastic. No, that's awesome. So there is, as you said, a real kind of lack of diversity, you know, in tech, both in terms of women and particularly women of colour, but so it's less than 1% of the workforce in IT. So you've done your amazing work to help kind of change that. What else are you seeing in the industry to help encourage a greater diversity of people to join? Do you feel like it's moving in the right direction?
Definitely, because now I'm seeing that coding is being introduced into schools. So that's one thing I think I wish I had when I was younger. And then we also have the different organizations like Coding Black Females, Code Bar, who are out there giving all these workshops, giving mentorships programs, and just helping us get to these spaces where we felt that it was impossible for us to get a foot in because we didn't really look the part.
Yeah. Well, look, speaking of getting a foot in, we've got a couple of questions on the chat. Where can people find out about coding boot camps? Where are these coding boot camps? Are they online or are they physical? Did you went actually to a room and learnt with other people?
Yeah, so I did mine back in 2017, so way before COVID, and this was all in the company.
Right.
But then as COVID happened, because I was a teaching assistant just during the onset of COVID, so then they switched to online, remote. So I'm not too sure how it is now. I think they probably have a mixture of offline and online.
Yeah. But you can find them.
Yeah,
you can find them through just search online, and you'll find information about coding boot camps where you are.
There's so many now.
Yeah.
The one I went to, for example, was called General Assembly. Then you've got Makers Academy. And one really cool thing about a lot of this boot camp is that they all offer scholarships.
Okay.
And partnerships with companies as well. So after you've done your 10 weeks, you're then basically given a role as an intern or junior developer to work for that company.
Okay, brilliant, amazing. So lots for people to check out. One final question. What's your favourite anime game? That's from the chat.
I'm not much of a gamer, but I can tell you my favourite anime is Sailor Moon because I'm very nostalgic.
Sailor Moon, is it called? Sailor Moon.
Yeah.
Okay. It sounds
it's
sounds
anime,
quite
it's
nostalgic.
not a game.
Okay, fine. All right, Sailor Moon. Top tip there. Check it out. Well, listen, Buki, thank you so much for joining us. Keep up the amazing work, and hopefully we'll get to speak again soon.
Thank you.
Great.
Bye.
Thank you so much. Brilliant stuff there. Sailor Moon sounds nice. Okay, guys, so thank you so much to everybody from BCS. What an amazingly insightful session, and thanks so much to our apprentices and graduates too who've done some really like a varied range of stuff in the industry. I love that Buki couldn't actually say what she's working on because it's top secret. That's very cool. Okay, now, if those talks have thrown up any other questions that we haven't answered yet, get them into the chat. I will either put them to our next guests if they're relevant, or if not, we've got people on hand to help answer them and guide you in the right direction. Now, remember, we've been running a poll throughout the day. The question that we asked you is, if you could choose any career in the digital sector, would it be software designer, cybersecurity engineer, digital marketing analyst, or digital project manager? Now, when we first saw the results, software designer was miles in the lead, but cybersecurity engineer has stormed ahead with 40%. This could be because we've had some guests specifically talking about that. Kim works in cybersecurity, and Buki, I think, does some, I mean, who knows what she does, but I imagine there's some stuff in that kind of area as well. That's really interesting, so keep your votes coming in. We'll see where that lands at the end of the day. Okay, we're going to take a short break now, but don't go anywhere, because still to come, you're going to be hearing from some really cool companies like Dell, Huawei, and Rolls-Royce. Luxury, premium. We'll see you in a minute.